The marriage contract sat on the table between them like an unexploded bomb. Lieutenant Commander Alina Torres stared at the document, then at the Veltharian woman sitting across from her in the sterile conference room of New Horizons Station. Princess Lissa Valkesh looked equally unhappy about the situation, her orange skin pale with stress, her blonde hair pulled back in a severe braid that seemed designed to intimidate. It wasn't working. Alina had faced down hostile boarding parties, survived 3 combat deployments, and once talked a suicidal pilot out of ramming a civilian transport. She wasn't easily intimidated, but this was new territory. "Let me make sure I understand," Alina said slowly. "You need to marry a human within the next 72 hours or you lose your claim to the Veltharian throne." "Correct," Lissa said, her voice tight with controlled frustration. "And I need to marry a Veltharian within the same time frame, or I lose my military commission and face court-martial for violating the Cultural Exchange Act." "Also correct. And the reason we're both in this mess is because some bureaucrat decided that cultural exchange officers must be married to someone from the culture they're representing. A law that was passed 3 days ago by extremists on both sides trying to sabotage the peace process," Lissa added bitterly. "They knew the current exchange officers were unmarried. They're trying to force us out and replace us with their own people." Alina leaned back in her chair, studying the princess. She'd met Lissa exactly twice before this emergency meeting, once at a diplomatic reception where they'd exchanged maybe 10 words, and once in passing at the station commissary. She knew Lissa by reputation, brilliant negotiator, fierce advocate for peace, third in line for the Veltharian throne until her 2 older siblings had been killed in a transport accident last month. Now first in line, and facing disinheritance if she didn't marry within 3 days. "This is insane," Alina said. "Agreed, but it's also our reality." Lissa pushed the contract toward Alina. "If we marry a legal binding marriage, we both keep our positions. We continue the work we've been doing. The peace process continues. And if we don't, I get replaced by my cousin who believes humans are inferior and wants to restart the war. You get court-martialed and replaced by someone who thinks Veltharians are cold-blooded monsters. The peace talks collapse. Thousands, maybe millions die." Alina picked up the contract, scanning the terms. It was surprisingly straightforward. Legal marriage under both human and Veltharian law. Minimum term of 2 years. Option for divorce after that if both parties agreed. Provisions for shared living quarters, joint public appearances, and wait, Alina said. "Shared living quarters, we'd have to live together. The law requires it, to prevent marriages of convenience." Lissa's expression was wry. Ironic, given that's exactly what this is. Alina thought about her small apartment on the station, her sanctuary, her private space after long days of negotiations and cultural sensitivity training. The idea of sharing it with a stranger, even a stranger she was technically married to, made her skin crawl. But the alternative was watching everything she'd worked for collapse, watching the peace process die, watching 2 species slide back toward war because a handful of extremists had manipulated the system. "How would this work?" Alina asked. "Logistics, day to day, we don't know each other, we're not in love." "No, we're not." Lissa's amber eyes met hers steadily. "But we're both professionals. We both believe in the peace process. We both have more to lose if we don't do this than if we do. That's not exactly a ringing endorsement of marriage. I'm not proposing a romance, Commander Torres. I'm proposing a partnership. 2 years, we maintain appearances, we do our jobs, and when the legal requirement expires, we part ways as friends, hopefully." Alina looked at the contract again. 2 years of her life bound to a stranger. 2 years of pretending to be something she wasn't. 2 years of lying to everyone around her. But 2 years of preserving peace, 2 years of preventing war, 2 years of making a difference. She'd signed up for military service knowing she might have to sacrifice her life for the greater good. Was sacrificing her privacy really such a big ask? I have conditions, Alina said. Lissa leaned forward. Name them. 1. We tell the truth to a select few people. My commanding officer, your mother. The people who need to know this is an arrangement, not a real marriage. Agreed. 2. We maintain separate bedrooms. I don't care what the contract says about shared quarters. I need my own space. Also agreed. I was going to request the same thing. 3. After the 2 years, we part on good terms, no drama, no resentment. We helped each other out of an impossible situation and we move on. Lissa extended her hand across the table. Deal. Do we have a marriage, Commander Tors? Alina looked at the offered hand, orange skin, elegant fingers, the slight tremor that betrayed Lissa's nerves despite her composed exterior. This woman was as trapped as Alina was. As desperate to find a solution that didn't destroy everything she'd worked for. They were strangers bound by necessity. 2 people who barely knew each other about to commit to the most intimate legal arrangement 2 beings could make. It was absurd. It was impossible. It was their only option. Alina took Lissa's hand. We have a marriage, Your Highness. The wedding was a hastily arranged affair in the station's administrative office, witnessed by exactly 4 people. Alina's Lissa's mother, Ambassador Thara Valkesh, and 2 station officials who looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. Alina wore her dress uniform. Lissa wore ceremonial Veltharian robes that probably cost more than Alina's annual salary. They exchanged vows that had been drafted by lawyers, not poets, practical promises about mutual respect and legal obligations rather than love and devotion. When the official pronounced them married under the laws of both the Federation and the Veltharian Dominion, Lissa leaned in for the traditional kiss. Her lips were warm against Alina's, the contact brief and chaste and absolutely electric. Alina told herself it was just nerves, just the strangeness of the situation. She was lying. Moving in together was awkward in ways Alina hadn't anticipated. Lissa arrived at Alina's apartment with 3 suitcases, a collection of data crystals containing her research, and an apologetic expression. I know this is your space, Lissa said, standing in the doorway like she wasn't sure she was welcome. I'll try to stay out of your way. It's our space now, Alina corrected, though the words felt strange in her mouth. Come in. I cleared out the 2nd bedroom for you. The 2nd bedroom had been Alina's home gym. She'd moved all the equipment into storage and set up a bed, a desk, and some basic furniture. It looked sparse and unwelcoming, and Alina felt guilty about it. Lissa didn't complain. She just set down her suitcases and looked around with an expression Alina couldn't quite read. Thank you, she said quietly. I know this isn't what either of us wanted. No, Alina agreed. But we're making it work. Making it work turned out to be harder than either of them expected. Lissa was meticulous about shared spaces, cleaning up immediately after herself and leaving the kitchen spotless. Alina was more casual, used to living alone and leaving dishes in the sink overnight. Lissa worked late into the night, her research keeping her up until 200 or 300 hours. Alina woke early for PT, her alarm blaring at 500. Lissa kept the apartment cold, comfortable for Veltharian biology. Alina was constantly freezing, adding layers and wondering how she'd survive 2 years of this. They were polite strangers sharing a living space, careful not to intrude on each other's privacy, maintaining a formal distance that felt wrong for people who were legally married. The cracks started showing 2 weeks in. Alina came home from a particularly brutal day of negotiations to find Lissa sitting on the couch, her face in her hands, shoulders shaking with silent tears. Lissa, Alina dropped her bag, concern overriding her usual caution about maintaining distance. What's wrong? Nothing, I'm fine. Lissa's voice was thick with tears she was trying to hide. You're clearly not fine. It's not your concern, Commander. We have an arrangement, not a relationship. My emotional state isn't part of the contract. The words stung more than they should have. Alina told herself she shouldn't care. This was a business arrangement, nothing more. But seeing Lissa in pain, alone in an apartment with someone who was supposed to be her partner but was instead a stranger, made something in Alina's chest ache. The contract says we're married, Alina said quietly, sitting down on the couch at a careful distance. And I was raised to believe that when your spouse is hurting, you at least ask what's wrong. Lissa looked up, her amber eyes red from crying, her orange skin blotchy. My mother called. My cousin is challenging the marriage. He's claiming it's fraudulent because we don't share a bedroom. He has supporters in the royal court who want to investigate to prove we're not really married. Alina felt ice settle in her stomach. Can he do that? He's trying. If he succeeds, if he can prove the marriage is just for legal convenience, I lose everything. And you face court-martial for fraud. Then we make it look real. How? We barely speak to each other, Alina. We live like roommates, not spouses. Anyone who investigates will see through this in seconds. Alina thought about the past 2 weeks. The careful distance they'd maintained, the separate bedrooms, the formal way they addressed each other. Lissa was right, it didn't look like a marriage. It looked exactly like what it was, a legal arrangement between strangers. Then we change that, Alina said, making a decision. We start acting like we're actually married. We eat meals together. We talk. She hesitated. We share a bedroom. Lissa's eyes widened. You said you needed your own space. I do, but I need to keep my commission more and you need to keep your throne. Alina reached out and took Lissa's hand, the first time she'd voluntarily touched her wife since the wedding kiss. We're in this together, Lissa, for better or worse. Maybe it's time we started acting like it. Sharing a bedroom changed everything. They moved Alina's bed into the larger room and set up Lissa's desk in the corner. The space felt crowded and intimate in ways Alina wasn't prepared for, but they made it work. Alina learned that Lissa talked in her sleep, mumbling in Veltharian about her research. Lissa learned that Alina had nightmares from her combat deployments and sometimes woke up gasping. The first time it happened, Alina woke to find Lissa sitting on the edge of her bed, a glass of water in hand. You were dreaming, Lissa said softly. I thought you might need this. Alina took the water with shaking hands. Sorry, I didn't mean to wake you. Don't apologize. Lissa's hand found Alina's in the darkness. We're partners, remember. You take care of me when I need it. I take care of you when you need it. It became a pattern. Alina's nightmares, Lissa's insomnia. Late-night conversations that started as comfort and evolved into genuine connection. They talked about their childhoods, their careers, their hopes for the future. They debated politics and philosophy. They argued about everything from military strategy to the best way to make coffee. And somewhere in all that talking, they stopped being strangers. 3 months into the marriage, Alina came home to find Lissa cooking dinner, an elaborate Veltharian dish that filled the apartment with spices Alina didn't recognize. What's this? Alina asked, setting down her bag. I realized we've been eating separately for 3 months. That's not what married couples do. Lissa looked nervous. I thought maybe we could have dinner together, actually sit down and share a meal. Alina felt something warm bloom in her chest. I'd like that. They ate at the small table, talking about their days, and it felt natural in a way Alina hadn't expected. Comfortable, right? Can I ask you something? Alina said as they were cleaning up. Of course. Do you ever regret this, the marriage, I mean, being stuck with me for 2 years? Lissa was quiet for a moment, her hands still in the soapy water. I did at first. The first few weeks I resented the situation, resented being forced into marriage with a stranger. But now. She looked at Alina. Now I'm grateful because I got to know you, Alina, and you're remarkable. Alina felt her face heat. I'm not. You are. You're brilliant at negotiations. You care deeply about peace. You have terrible taste in music but excellent taste in literature. You're kind even when you don't have to be, and you make me laugh even on my worst days. Lissa dried her hands and turned to face Alina fully. I don't regret this, not anymore. I don't either, Alina admitted. I thought this would be the worst 2 years of my life, but it's been good, better than good. You've become my best friend, Lissa. Just friends. Lissa's voice was soft, uncertain. Alina's breath caught. What are you asking? I'm asking if you feel it too, this thing between us. It started as survival, as necessity, but it's become something else, something real. Alina thought about the past 3 months, the late-night conversations, the comfortable silences. The way her heart jumped when Lissa smiled at her. The way she'd started looking forward to coming home because Lissa was there. I feel it, Alina whispered. Lissa closed the distance between them, her hands coming up to frame Alina's face. Then maybe we stop pretending this is just an arrangement. Maybe we acknowledge that we're falling in love. Are we falling in love? I am, Lissa said simply. I've been falling since you sat next to me when I was crying and offered to share a bedroom to protect us both. Since you started bringing me coffee in the mornings exactly how I like it, since you held me through the nightmares I won't tell anyone else about. Alina's eyes burned with unexpected tears. I love you too. I don't know when it happened, but somewhere between the contract signing and right now, this stopped being survival and started being us. When Lissa kissed her, it was nothing like their wedding kiss. This was real, passionate, two people who'd found something neither of them expected in the last place they thought to look. 18 months later, Alina and Lissa sat in the same conference room where they'd signed their marriage contract, the divorce papers laid out before them. 2 years had passed. The legal requirement was fulfilled. They could walk away now, obligations met, free to live their separate lives. Neither of them had signed. So, Lissa said, a smile playing at her lips. I believe the contract said we could divorce after 2 years if both parties agreed. It did, Alina confirmed. And do you agree? Do you want a divorce? Alina looked at the woman she'd married out of necessity and fallen in love with through proximity. The woman who knew her nightmares and her dreams. The woman who'd become her partner in every sense of the word. No, Alina said, I don't want a divorce. I want a real marriage with you for as long as you'll have me. Lissa's smile was radiant. I was hoping you'd say that. She pushed the divorce papers aside and pulled out a different document, because I had our lawyers draw up something else, a renewal of vows not for legal necessity but for love. Alina took the document, reading through vows that spoke of partnership and devotion, of choosing each other not because they had to but because they wanted to. Yes, she said, not needing to read further. Yes to all of it. They signed the new contract together, hands intertwined, and Alina thought about how strange life was. They'd married for survival. Two strangers bound by legal necessity trying to save their careers and prevent a war. But they'd found something neither of them had been looking for. They'd found home, they'd found partnership, they'd found love, and in the end that was worth more than any contract could ever capture.